Hey Munchies, it's the Gamer Untamed, and I apologise for not having made a video last week. Unfortunately, I was ill and my immune system was low, etc, etc. But I do have a video for you today, and today I will be reviewing Telltale's inspired Game of Thrones Season 1.
Know that you never stand alone, especially now. You are a Forrester.
There's a long and sordid history of hostility between the Forresters and House Bolton's loyal bannermen, the White Hills. Who knows what lurks within their hearts?
I fear my family will suffer if Ramsay is left to do as he likes.
We can handle Ramsay Snow. He doesn't scare me.
These are hard times, and the only way to solve our problems is with iron and steel.
What you do will have repercussions. Your family will be at risk, no matter where they might be.
Our house will not fall.
This is a lovely pile of timber, isn't it?
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. In this fanciful realm of political carnage, imperial rivalries, and this seemingly incessant plethora of death, the likelihood of an entirely original playable household surviving the length of this Telltale narrative in the spirit of George R. R. Martin is very, very slim. Here in the midst of bloodshed, Telltale tackles the notoriously famous fantasy novels created by George R. R. Martin. After previous video game titles of Game of Thrones received mediocre and rather negative reviews, George R. R. Martin wanted a Game of Thrones game to be created by a studio that knew how to craft a thrilling and captivating narrative. Telltale, who previously created renowned video games such as The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, managed to secure the license to produce the Game of Thrones Telltale video game. Whether it managed to create a raw and thrilling narrative is entirely up to the very devoted players and fans. The episodic narrative of Game of Thrones revolves around the Northerners of House Forrester of Ironrath, a seemingly established but anonymous noble house seated at the mass production of ironwood in the Wolfswood, much to the chagrin of the adversaries House Whitehill. Commencing with the chaos and senseless massacre of the heinous Red Wedding incident dramatised in the television series of Game of Thrones, with the death of the patriarch of House Forrester, this ultimately instigates the narrative for the players. You, as the player, play as 4 distinct and individual characters of House Forrester: Garrett Tuttle, Ethan Forrester, Roderick Forrester, Mira Forrester, and Asha Forrester. Regardless of how you, as the player, decide to develop and depict the persona of these characters, as opposed to the venomous predators that lurk within the capital, this household actually upholds an aura of humanity and sincerity, and this quality makes for an exceedingly tragic end to the downfall of this family at the conclusion of the narrative. Telltale's spectacular adventure spans over a period of 6 episodes, allowing the players to immerse themselves in the linear depiction of Westeros and Essos. This video game is definitely not for anyone foreign to the series to catapult themselves into George R. R. Martin's fantasy realm. If you haven't seen up to Season 3, or finished Season 3 of the television series, or read the books, do not play the video game because Telltale will blatantly shove spoilers down your throat. Akin to the narrative structuring of the Game of Thrones novels, Telltale takes a hint from George R. R. Martin in allowing the players to delve into the distinct minds of 5 divergent characters. Although at times this can be very immersive, it does place restrictions and limitations on the players forming a concrete relationship with each different character. As time is divided between each personification, it is difficult to form that kind of intense relationship. Although the game in itself lacks in significant faults and imperfections, it is not how I envisioned the redemption of a Game of Thrones video game. For the most part, the narrative remains morose and disconcerting, with a heightened level of dread and anxiety as to whether the sole, loyal, and steadfast house in Westeros will be able to survive the plight of Game of Thrones. Nevertheless, with the unsatisfying conclusion to the end of Season 1, the players are forced to question whether the gravity of the ultimatums they are required to make actually have long-lasting consequences on the characters. Sure, Deaths are inevitable, especially in a Game of Thrones series, but how much control do the players actually have over making these decisions? Did Ethan have to fall to his untimely death? Did Mira Forrester have to proceed that prison sentence? And did Lady Forrester actually have to die in both instances, whether she was going to drink the poison or be stabbed with a spear? The only life or death decision that severely impacted on my own moral decency was the split between Roderick and Asher. Entirely unforeseen and completely caught off guard, there was essentially a puddle of tears that formed at the base of my keyboard. I wish I was exaggerating.
My lord, you must hurry! We cannot lose you! You must leave!
Come on! Don't you dare leave me, Asher!
My lord, you have to get out of here!
Let me save your life and our house.
Iron from ice, brother. Iron from ice.
Were it not for the unresolved sequences and vague events of the final chapter, the Game of Thrones Telltale game could have retained its level of hype for GOT fans and players. Beyond the protection of the wall, Garrett's expedition in search of the North Grove is achieved. Finally, thank God, it only took 6 episodes to get there. Yet it entirely fails to explain the importance and degree of vast significance that it is supposed to have, aside from the brief glimpse we are given into its connection between House Forrester and the North Grove through ties of bastard blood, apparently. The North Grove is painted as this prominent, vital source to the survival of House Forrester, yet somehow the house falls before the North Grove can do anything about the situation. Hence the likelihood of there being a season 2 of Game of Thrones, which I don't think I'll even end up playing through. Ethan's narrative is short and somber, provoking emotions and tugging at the player's heartstrings, especially when witnessing the death of this innocent child. Roderick's humanity was inspiring, as was his personal and intimate association with Elena. Mira's politically savvy attitude was definitely akin to that of Cersei Lannister in her own right, though unfortunately such an aptitude led to her eventual demise. And finally, Asher Forrester proved to be more than just the black sheep of the family, very humoristic and military-oriented. I am so glad that Telltale didn't decide to make Beskha and Asher's friendship and very platonic relationship more than that. Thank God. Each crucial battle sequence comprises of gore and blood-ridden butchery. However, it remains identical to Telltale's stereotypical quick-time events in terms of mechanics and the control system. Each voice acting component was executed to a high standard, although I cannot help but really dislike Mira's tone of voice. Perhaps it was done on purpose to make her sound naive and innocent when she really has quite a vicious bite, but she just sounded like a 5-year-old airy cat. Unlike Telltale's previous creations such as The Walking Dead, the already linear environment is streamlined and minimalized in terms of the exploration of the landscape. The game seems to function and enforce the interactions between the different types of characters, but really just comes across as a Disney interactive film rather than a rich and artistic video game. Although it was exciting and enticing to be able to interact with characters such as Jon Snow and how he doesn't know anything, and Tyrion and Cersei and Marjorie, and a whole bunch of other contributing characters from the television series and the books, the game failed to reach the benchmark of HBO's television series and how I believe George R.R. Martin envisioned Telltale to create his video game. For that reason, I am going to give this particular game a 6.5 out of 10. The game is okay. I would definitely encourage people who have seen the television show and read the books to play it. Do not play it if you're thinking that spoilers are not going to be thrusted upon you, because they will, but it is definitely not Telltale's best video game that I have ever seen, and unfortunately it really lacks in multiple departments, but it is an above average video game from my opinion. So that is it. That is my entire review of Game of Thrones. I apologise again for not placing a review out last week. Hopefully I can get 2 reviews out next week, or discussions of some kind. I was going to do a Fallout 4 first impressions. I did record it, but it kind of just came out as a very strange discussion about my likes and dislikes. If you'd like to see it, let me know. I'm interested to do a film review of By the Sea with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. I would also like to review Spectre, but I feel like it's going to be a bit too late. Next week I would also like to talk to you about Assassin's Creed 4. I haven't got it yet, but I'm hoping I might. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, but things will happen. So thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Please leave a comment down below about your thoughts about Game of Thrones if you've played it. Please give this video a like, share it, and of course subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!